Hey, what's good, self-direct investors? I hope you're all doing great, and I want to welcome you back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jordan. I'm the mind behind Make More Capital, and today we're going to cover this week in cannabis from January 18th to the 24th. Now, before we jump in, all I ask is that if you enjoy this video or you learn something, please leave a like as it really helps out my channel. And then if you want to take advantage of this generational investment opportunity, make sure that you subscribe, and then I would recommend going back and watching Reality Check Cannabis in 2020, and then episodes of This Week in Cannabis up until now, basically to learn from September what we were expecting through the election, what actually happened, and what we can expect in this industry going forward. Now, we're going to jump in, though, because this is amazing, and cannabis sales either shattered records or set records in 2020, and insiders expect the gains to continue. And this is quite strong. These are 5 of the older states with a legal recreational market, and as you can see, California, Colorado, Oregon, Washington State, and then Nevada, we are still waiting on sales figures from October, November, December, all show increases despite a pandemic. Year-over-year sales continue to grow steadily in established cannabis markets with 3 or more years of sales. Now, this is important to point out that these are markets that are already established, which is why new investors will benefit the most by getting into companies that have access into the new markets, like Illinois' first year of 2020, like Arizona and New Jersey's first year, which will be in 2021, and potential states like New York, Texas, and those going forward, because again, those are 0 to 1 billion markets, and that's where you start to make money when you get in first and early then. But so we're going to jump down to the specifics. Of course, this article will be there if you want to read it in the description, but I figured this out as well. California's legal market, which was launched in 2018, hit $4.4 billion in sales in 2020, compared to $2.8 billion in 2019 and $1.4 billion in 2018. California has a population of 39 million people. Canada has a population of 37. And when you actually look at the numbers, Canada legalized cannabis in October of 2018, but we only had our first whole year in 2019. And our sales figures were $1.2 billion in 2019. Then in 2020, we're actually on pace to do $2.5 billion. So similar to California going from 1.4 to 2.8, Canada's going from 1.2 to potentially 2.4, 2.5. So this is just a good indicator of what we can see out of Canada coming in the next few years, especially as Ontario is opening 80 stores a month. But I just wanted to point that out because Canada is acting like a mature industry in the sense that we just don't have the population the US does. And this is, again, just to reiterate why investing in Canada is a different game than the US. If you get into some of these newer states, and we'll run through this as we go, but getting into Canada, you really only want to be in the top 1 or 2 players, which again, my view, not advice, but Afria and Village Farms International. Those companies have established number 1 spots and show growth in Canada, whereas the other ones really don't, and they're struggling. So that's why I would be getting into California, it's already established. You actually want to get into the companies that are getting into Arizona, getting into New Jersey, getting these new footholds, because that's where your money's going to grow, because the companies are going to grow faster. But to go through the rest, Colorado sales obviously exceeded $2 billion without December sales even calculated into it, up from $1.7 billion in 2019 and $1.5 billion in 2018. Oregon sales surpassed $1 billion for the first time in 2020. Washington sales, the second oldest adult use market in the country, reached sales of $1.4 billion, up from $1.1. Just over $1 billion in 2018. Illinois set the high bar for performance, breaking the $1 billion threshold, and that was their first year, right? And that's where Cresco, Curaleaf, Green Thumb have large footprints. Massachusetts hit almost $700 million in sales, up 56%, from 2019, despite they actually closed recreational stores, deeming that was not essential, but they kept medical open. And then Nevada, again, it doesn't account for October, November, and December, but significantly up from the prior year. Now, again, it has nothing to do with the coronavirus, but I just wanted to point this out is, will the sales continue? Yes, as more states just legalize, right? And this is the best part. The big thing this year is you'll probably see a lot of states passing rec laws. 2021 is definitely going to be a year of more growth and consistent strong demand because, again, these new states are going to want to get in on the action of jobs and tax revenue, but a byproduct of that is this is only the start of positive stories for years and years to come. Easily said, and Easley is Nick Easley, the CEO and founder of 3C Consulting in Colorado. So this guy's clearly on the ground there in business of cannabis, and from someone in Colorado goes, only positive stories for years and years to come. I'm not worried it's going to slow down ever. Get that? It's only going to get better. It's going to slow down for certain sectors or smaller operators, but consumption has become normalized, which is why I think it's important to focus on the big established companies and not try to get on into any of these new small, penny stocks. But Another thing to point out is we have another study. We have more tangible evidence. In this study, Complementary Therapies in Medicine, called Mixed Method Study of the Potential Therapeutic Benefits from Medical Cannabis from Patients in Florida, a study done by College of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences, Institute of Public Health from Florida A&M. They basically found in the study, medical cannabis patients perceive clinical benefits in pain management and seizure treatment. The greatest patient benefits included increased mood and improved quality of life and decreased pain. So ultimately, it just makes life better when you're suffering. So how can we not want humans to have access to something that's going to make the pain and the suffering bearable? Right? Like, it's about time we're figuring this out. Overall health benefits for medical cannabis patients were inversely associated with age. It is not uncommon for medical cannabis patients to use the drug to treat multiple medical conditions. Now, again, this just goes to show that there's potential in it elevating mood, decreasing pain, all of these good things. But these patients in Florida believe the price is too high and perceive social stigma towards their use. The social stigma is going away, but the price, I mean, that's just the reality of how far we've come and just how economics works. But just to look at the objectives, to evaluate medical cannabis patients' perceptions of therapeutic benefits for self-reported medical conditions. So again, this is self-reported, but still, it was a concurrent mixed method study with adult use medical patients. Survey data was collected using web-based surveys, and interviews were conducted in person over the phone. 196 medical patients completed surveys, and 13 patients participated in interviews. Basically, what were the results? Patients used medical cannabis for relief of chronic pain or depression, followed by arthritis and nausea. Survey results indicated 89% of patients, 89, reported great relief from their condition. Over 76% of patients reported a score of 8 or higher on a 10-point scale that their medical condition had improved. And over 68% reported a score of 8 or higher that medical cannabis had reduced their pain. Interviews indicated that medical cannabis was effective for pain relief and reducing the use of prescription medicines, but the drug was perceived as too expensive. Well, again, you need to have a job and you need to be making money to pay for it. But regardless, this is amazing news. Medical cannabis patients were positive about the health benefits they received and the fact that they were able to reduce or eliminate many prescription medications. However, there are concerns about costs. Now, unfortunately, this also goes to say that, hey, Florida, allow people to grow at home. Come on. I mean, some sort of way to at least get around that. If costs are too expensive, you're going to make money by people that are going to have the money to spend it. Allow people to grow from home. Now, we're going to move on, though, because this was news I saw on Thursday and got me stoked. Recreational cannabis sales in Arizona could start this week. Now, they were scheduled to start in March, close to when New Jersey was expecting to start them. But I loved seeing this was that the first stores able to sell recreational cannabis and products such as vape pens and gummy edibles are existing medical cannabis dispensaries. This is amazing. Sky, I'm sitting here at my computer hitting refresh, says Raul Molina, a partner and senior vice president of operations for the Mint dispensaries in Mesa and Guadalupe. And I just want to point out, clearly we're hearing from someone named Raul Molina, not a white guy. And here we got Jigar Patel, CEO of Nature's Medicines in Glendale, also not a white guy. I just want to point out that you don't have to be a white person to be good at business or to educate yourself and try to take advantage of an opportunity. And I'm sure anyone watching this knows that, but just for any articles saying that the U.S. big business is taking over this industry, no. It's individuals setting up individual businesses for themselves and improving their life. Those are the ones that are really also benefiting. Now, I just want to say that there's also these people, as opposed to just, say, Boris Johnson, the billionaire founder of Trulieve. There's a lot of people in this space. But to point out, as an investor in Harvest Health, I'm very happy to see that this came on Friday, that Harvest Health had registered their first recreational cannabis sales in Arizona. This is amazing because Harvest operates 15 dispensaries. And again, it's medical dispensaries that get their first rights to sell recreational. So that is huge. Curaleaf as well has 8 dispensaries in Arizona. So Curaleaf is again proud to announce that Arizona has not waited. They've gone quickly and adult use operations have started. And again, this creates jobs for surrounding communities. This is fundamentally a good thing. Now, what is included in as Arizona becomes the 15th state to allow recreational cannabis sales? Incredible that we've come this far. But so basically what this did was the Health Service Department on Friday announced it approved 86 licenses in 9 of the state's 15 counties under provisions of cannabis measures passed in November. Get that though, overnight, a potential market of 7 million people in Arizona opened up like that. And that is what we're going to see from New York, Texas. That's what we saw from Illinois. That's what we're going to see from the states who have yet to open the recreational markets. And so how have they done this to make it beneficial for the people as well? Under the terms of Proposition 207 people 21 and older can grow their own plants, which again is huge. For people that complain about costs, let them grow themselves if they want. And legally possess up to an ounce of cannabis for smaller quantity concentrates as hashish. Possession of between 1 ounce and 2.5 ounces is a petty offense carrying a $300 fine. So I just want to point out that these are more beneficial towards the actual people of the state of Arizona, whereas Cuomo, he has come out with the legalization plans, but it draws backlash from advocates because, again, he can't come to an agreement with what the people want. But like, dude, you're working for the people. It's not for your own benefit. So you got to put that behind you. But again, it just goes to show that Cuomo is unfortunately still a moron. I was very hopeful that he was changing his ways. Thankfully, this is likely going to happen, but it just goes to show that different states will want to have different things. And what Cuomo was against is basically there'd be no homegrown option for medical patients or recreational consumers. And again, when cost is a big thing, this is what people would complain about. Why can't I just grow it at home for free? Then the plant is not free. That's why it's so important to take it out of Deschedule 1. That's why it's so important for this reform to start. But also he mentioned that he would allocate $100 million in cannabis tax revenues for communities most impacted, when previously last week he said he would allocate $300 million. So, I mean, Cuomo deserves to get backlash for changing all of this. And again, I agree. If you're in New York, speak to your state reps, speak to someone that can make a difference, because ultimately it's individuals like us that make the difference over time. And also it's just him trying to tax it up the ass with 3 different tax types. It's just insane. Treat it like alcohol, tobacco, and then we'll learn and roll with the punches. But so it just goes to show one state can allow some, good guidelines, whereas another one can come out and not, make sensible guidelines. Now, I'm just going to ring these off because it's just a lot of news of potential talks and it's changing the narrative in a good way. But Virginia Senate panel advances adult use cannabis legalization bill. Awesome. Let's hope that moves forward sooner than later. 2 in 3 Texans support legalizing cannabis to fund schools. I mean, could have done this a long time ago, but it just goes to show 64% agree that, yes, legalizing tax marijuana. That's how we can pay for education. The most important thing we all need, education. So hopefully, again, people in Texas, speak up, speak to your local state reps, talk to them, tell them that, yes, obviously this makes sense. Because again, growing percentage of people obviously agree that they support legalization for taxes, for the money it would bring in. But I'm reading this, I found out it appears Texas has their own Mitch McConnell, who is Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who presides over the Senate, has killed prior efforts to enact reform in the state, raising questions about the prospects of far-reaching changes advancing in the chamber. So it seems like this is the guy in the way. So, I mean, whoever voted them in, that's unfortunately your fault if you allowed that guy to get back in power. But nonetheless, talk to your state reps. This is good news because when the majority of the people want it and the market starts to speak, politicians listen. Hawaii lawmakers push to legalize cannabis for personal use. This is the first reading this week, or it passed the first reading this week, which is great, so it's waiting for a hearing. Multiple cannabis legislative bills expected to pass in New Mexico legislative session. So again, just very positive, folks. This all came out this week. I kid you not. And then these states could legalize medical cannabis in 2021. And I think it's just so important to, again, Biden said he would legalize federally. That just gets America on the same page with a medical alternative, because these states like Kansas, Kentucky, South Carolina, Alabama don't even have medical marijuana accessible. And get this, we have studies to prove access to medical cannabis reduces opioid prescriptions, which therefore would reduce opioid overdoses. We know this, so it's insane. And another study, the authors cited a second study from 2014 published in JAMA, which is a medical magazine or medical publication, which shows that states with medical cannabis laws had an average 25% lower annual opioid overdose mortality rate compared to states without. So the fact that opioid overdose deaths appear to be falling in states with medical cannabis laws complements that not just fewer opiates are being prescribed, and less people are taking that to the extreme and losing their lives because of it. So I just want to point that out. This all came in this week. So this is amazing momentum, folks. And great to see Illinois awards $31.5 million of cannabis-funded grants to repair communities harmed by the war on drugs. We want more states to follow in Illinois' lead. They are crushing it. And this, these next few years are going to make leaders out of the states that do this right versus the states that do it wrong. So that's great to see. And from over the pond, the Irish Times report that a medical cannabis program to begin this year after funding has been received. So this midweek update, we have France talking about speaking with its citizens. What do they want? And we have Ireland. Now, funding has been made available from a new program providing cannabis-based medical products to patients later this year. And basically, these products are licensed under the Medical Cannabis Access Program, can apply where conventional treatments are unsuccessful. And that would just be taking pills and then trying to mask the symptoms, as opposed to really either accepting the suffering and being okay with it, which I think cannabis can help you do, but then also for just all, improving your mood and things like that. So it just goes to show that the study at the beginning, a lot of these things kind of complement each other, just knows that it tells me that we're snowballing in the right direction, which I hope to see. Now, we're going to do a big loop back to Canada because I do want to compare how Canada is similar to the California market in the sense that there's just not as much competition. It's a bit more mature. It's not more mature, but because of regulations and whatnot, it's slowly growing. But for perspective, compared to the US, where so much more growth can come, apparently Canopy has launched a new thing of drinks. Now, as you know, I've spoken about Canopy a lot. They lose a lot of money. Now, with this launch, are they going to make more money? Are they going to make a return on the investment that they invested in to create these drinks? You have to hope so. Otherwise, that leads to Canopy just losing more money. But so what they're trying to do is get into the CBD and almost no THC sort of genre where they weren't before. But again, unfortunately in Canada, drinks just do not do well because you can only buy a maximum of 4 at a time because of the amount of grams put into each. So they think maybe CBD will do better than THC. I don't think so. Anyways, good luck, Canopy. But that just goes to show that a company doubling down on what they did wrong in the first place is never a good sign. I'm just pointing that out. They really need US legalization to become those MSOs they plan to buy. Now, Aurora, as you saw last week, US MSOs raising money easily because people see the undervalue aspect of them. Aurora, unfortunately, has just raised money, but then you see their share price go down because Aurora is not growing. They're not making money. There's no year-over-year growth potential with them. They are a company managed by hooligans that just waste shareholders' money. And so this just goes to show us, like, if you haven't gotten out of Aurora at this point, gosh, I feel terrible for you. But they raise money, then they reverse split. Then they raise money, reverse split. They do not care about shareholders, so do not waste your time. And then Hexo, various all-in-one disposable cannabis vapes pens recalled due to mechanical issue. And it appears that, the battery of the vape can stay activated, which can potentially melt the plastic shell of the skin. Seems as if they were getting these made in China, and, that just didn't lead to good results either. So it goes to show that in Canada, we are learning, right? And we had 5 big companies, let's say Canopy, Kronos, Aurora, Aphria, Hexo even, you could say. In 2018, these were the big giants. Hexo has fallen, Aurora has fallen, Canopy's pretty much fallen, and all we have left now is Aphria, who bought Tilray. Kronos, again, is just a shell for Altria, pretty much, so that Altria can buy them at some point once cannabis becomes legal. And then lastly, Village Farms International is the only other company besides Aphria that's actually growing year over year in Canadian market share. So that's what you want to see. And just to point out and how you have to be careful with the articles that you read, because look, this article came out on January 20th. 2 top cannabis stocks to buy in January. And again, all they did, this was Aphria because their earnings were big and their deal with Tilray, and then Hexo because they launched drinks in Colorado. There's no other reason for this article to be written besides the fact Motley Fool needs content, and these 2 companies hit the news on that day or that week, okay? But get this. So on the next day, January 21st, 3 signs Aphria is heading for trouble. Like, what? Written by David Jiglitsky, and then this one is Jiwan's son. So it just goes to show that you cannot take anything written by the Motley Fool seriously, but you really need to find solid sources where you're going to get your information from. Because 3 signs Aphria is heading for trouble, minimal growth in Canada. Yeah, there is minimal growth, but the only growth that there is, Aphria has captured it. So that's not bad. And of course, gross margins are declining. You can't say they are declining when for one statement they declined. They could resume up the uptrend next. It's just the wording is it's really looking at what Aphria is right now. Inventory levels are high and could be vulnerable. Again, it's good that they can get access to vapes and get this into drinks in time. But fundamentally, this article does not account for the fact Ontario is opening 80 stores a month and going to have 1,300 dispensaries at the end of 2021, right? So again, I honestly would look at these now and it's just like, okay, these are written by probably some university freshmen that need some side money, and they just read articles and then regurgitate it for the Motley Fool. So it's just so important to be careful where you're getting your material from. And last but not least, I wanted to round back to the MSOs because whoever this person is, thank you, cashflow_free, free cash flow. This is a brilliant piece of work put together by this man here, and I just want to point out who this guy is. Hold on. Yeah, free cash flow. He is a 20-year institutional investor, sell-side, buy-side, bulge bracket boutique. But nonetheless, don't take this as exact truth. I mean, I'm sure this guy is genuine in putting what he thinks is factual in here, but when you actually look at these companies like Curaleaf, Green Thumb, Trulieve, Cresco Labs, these are the tier 1 cannabis MSOs. These are the big established ones that are literally in the low billion of valuations, but they're trading below, or they're trading at their book value. No future growth priced in. And then you have the second tier cannabis operators, all of these ones, and then you have the third tier. And I just think you're better with choosing the best of these two. I mean, obviously you could get lucky with one of these and see the value of your money increase by a lot. But I think you're going to get the best bang for your buck getting into these companies because, again, they're at a run rate of revenue estimates into 2021, over $1 billion, 1.2 billion, Curaleaf, 1.7 billion, Green Thumb, 828 million to 1 billion, Trulieve, 800 million to 1 billion, and then Cresco Labs from 1 billion to 1 billion. Again, I mean, this is just where the growth is going to come. And if you look at the enterprise value divided by sales, they're just trading at such low price multiples compared to like tech companies that are just insanely overvalued. And I know it's hard to compare cannabis and tech, but when you actually look at the revenue growth and the fact that these companies will likely reach profitability in 2021, and they're sitting at 10 billion, 7 billion, 5 billion, but they're growing very quickly and soon to be profitable. I definitely think we're going to see a lot of money, especially once the Safe Banking Act and allows big institutions to get in. We're going to see a lot of money run into these companies because they're the best deal you could possibly get right now in January of 2021, that I believe. If you disagree and you think you can find better deals somewhere else, let me know in the comments. I'd love to know. But ultimately, the U.S. cannabis space is going to grow at phenomenal rates over the next few years as more states just open up. And as I hope this all displayed to you, that Arizona literally will be a 0 to $1 billion market, thanks to the help of recreational, maybe not in 2021, but in 2022. And just to reiterate what this guy on the ground in Colorado says, this is only the start of positive stories for years and years to come. I'm not worried it's going to slow down ever. Neither am I, and hopefully I've helped you see the light in a way that you don't think so either. But that is it for this week, folks. Hope you enjoyed this, found this informative, and just get ready for hopefully more good news to come. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and of course subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll catch you midweek next week for another update. Have a great day, everybody.